And it might not be the world's first NFT podcast, but it is the world's best, according to our moms. It is the Nifty.Show. I am Joel Comm, and that character right there, why, that would be Zach Comm. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Sir Lord Joel.
Check out the, in your case, it's Sir Lord Dad.
Sir Lord Dad?
Sir
I
Lord
can't
Dad.
say that. I can start calling you that.
That would actually be funny. I have official gear. Sir Lord Travis made a Nifty.Show, like a one-off t-shirt. And I don't know if I hope he's got one for you too. Hey, Trav, where's Zach's shirt?
Give us a double XL stat.
Yeah, we need the swag, and we got stickers now. Travis is going to be handing them out at VCon, and the three of us are going to be at NFT NYC, and we're going to have a sackload of stickers. So if you're there at NFT NYC in June, just come on up to us and say, "Stick it to me," and we'll look at you funny, and then realize what you're saying, and we'll hand you a sticker. So, Zach, you are, between the two of us, the one that is closest to high school, even though you've been out for a dozen years. Yeah. A dozen years out. It's not really close at all. But last year, we had a gentleman by the name of Nadav Zeimer on the Bad Crypto podcast. He has written a book called Education in the Digital Age, How We Get There. And at that time, he was talking about the implementation of Web3, metaverse, and NFTs to change and revolutionize the public school system. Well, the project is finally rolling out. It's called HS.Credit. It's a nonprofit app offering NFTs to 11th and 12th grade students. We'll find out how, why, when, where, what, which, and all the other questions as we welcome Nadav Zeimer to the show. Nadav, how are you?
I'm doing well. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And your students know you as Principal Z, yeah?
That's right. Or most of them just call me Z.
Which is read as principles. He's a man with principles. Okay, so let's jump right in here. For those who are interested in the original interview talking about the book and what the future looks like, we'll link the Bad Crypto episode in the Nifty.Show show notes. But I want to jump right in here on how you intend to use these NFTs for kids. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so right now the way we measure outcomes in education is standardized testing, right? We pour stuff into them and then we measure what comes out. And the issue, no matter how good the standards are of those standardized testing, the stuff that's easy to evaluate on those standardized tests is just basically the content, right or wrong answers. But in this day and age, students have to learn how to deal with ambiguity and complexity, not just complicatedness. And so we're creating a new just a transcript, right? So just like Uber has no cars or Airbnb has no hotels, we have no schools. We're just a transcript, or the place you come to mint these NFTs, and they're evaluated based on performance-based assessment, which is a more ancient form of assessment than the industrial model. And students at any school, you don't have to have gone to the right middle school, any student at any school can get one of these gold standard credits. And the concept for people that are familiar with NFTs especially is easy to understand, because Bitcoin is just a ledger. A high school transcript is just a ledger, right? So all we're doing is decentralizing the high school ledger and getting the politicians and the corporations out of the way so that we evaluate content. We have these credit experts on the platform who are paid a lot of money to evaluate the incoming content, and they evaluate it using skills practice, so performance-based assessment practices. And what makes this possible is just the fact that now literacy isn't pen and paper, it's audio and video. And with audio and video, you can get a lot higher resolution view of the young person. And so we're going from fiat credits to gold standard credits in high schools.
So let's explore some of the hints that you just dropped there. First off, you're talking about audio and video footage of students, and then you talked about these performance-based evaluations. So what is the material task that a student would be doing relative to acquiring one of these credits?
Yep. So we are not a Coursera. We don't offer courses. We don't offer tasks. We offer the evaluation at the end. So let me give you an idea. So kind of in the business world, we talk about inversion, right? When the top-down systems flip to the bottom up, where the consumer becomes part of the designer and owner of the credit. Same thing's happening in classrooms. So instead of the teacher being the owner of information, the students with NFTs can own their content. So what it looks like is, instead of cramming for an exam at the end of a unit of learning the way we do now, we cram for the exam at the beginning. So to unlock one of these credits, to initiate the credit, you stake content. Kids have to put skin in the game. It's not a push model, it's a pull model. So they have to show they're pulling. They stake content. They say, here's the stuff that I read, here's the topic that I'm interested in, here's the task of what I'm going to do. And it's either given to them by their teacher or something they created, and then they submit it. And then they go away with their teacher and do the experience of learning and come back at the end and just upload the final product. And the way it's evaluated is they choose the skills. They tell us how we want them to evaluate them in the product. So we have a database of skills. Those skills come from standards that exist right now. So standards are very easy to convert into skill assessments because most rows in a standards rubric are skills. And so we're just importing them into our database. You can choose the AP skills, the Regent skills, whatever type of skills you want. You choose the specific skills, and that builds a custom rubric for our evaluators to evaluate the piece at the end. So we're not doing the course. We're not designing any of the curriculum. There's no teacher intellectual property. We're just doing the evaluation at the end. We have three objective third-party evaluators who evaluate the pieces and then mint it as an NFT if they meet the standard.
Does that sound familiar to you, Zach, of the idea of, rolling your own, deciding what you want to learn?
Yes, it actually does ring quite reminiscent of
And
my own
why would that be?
because you and mom decided to homeschool myself and Jenna, and there was a lot of freedom involved in that, and it did give us ample opportunity to explore our talents and interests and help to facilitate things that definitely would not have been facilitated in the sort of mass production model that we have in schools today. So I could definitely see the parallels here.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Lots of parallels there. I agree.
So how then does somebody earn with this?
So the teachers earn, so the student chooses who they're going to list as their teacher. So if they're in a math class, but the person that really helps them is their uncle, they would list the uncle as the teacher. They get to choose who that person is. That person gets notified and they have to accept the relationship. That's okay, I'm going to mentor this young person through this credit, and they can see what the content the student stakes, so what they're planning on doing. If someone is successful, not at having the student earn the credit, but at predicting whether the credit will be approved for an NFT, right? So if when they say it's not going to approve, it doesn't. When they say it will, it does. They can then become one of those graders and earn $150 an hour to grade on the platform. So that's how the adults, the teachers, are incentivized off the platform to evaluate effectively, so that once something gets on the platform, it is ready to go. The students only earn crypto. They earn these NFTs in their wallet, but they only earn crypto if they work with other students in their area to create a block of academic capital. So what that means is they all have approved credits, and if they can get a bunch of them together and they put them into a block, they upload it to the platform, they sign off with their key, and they say these 20 credits we're putting in a block, and they have to make a case that that block is diverse. So we use zip code as a proxy for diversity. So they have to say there's a student in each zip code, and this is why these zip codes are different. The most diverse blocks are the ones that get issued the cryptocurrency. It's 1,000 of our We Do coins in their wallet every month for 25 years. So it's kind of like a basic income. So what we're doing is saying that the stream of content that comes off our platform has to be diverse. If it's all a certain socioeconomic group, we failed at educating young people, because we want them to interface with people who are not like them and force them to do that. So that's how young people earn blocks of academic capital and get that crypto reward.
So this financial aspect in this approach is incredibly unique and interesting, but this is a really sophisticated project as a whole. It's taking some time to sink in. So I want to pull back just for a moment, because it sounds to me, I'm trying to identify how exactly does this change the system, and it looks to me like it changes the system by providing a significantly higher resolution of the value that a high school student can bring to society is actively developing in their formative years than any kind of standardized testing that exists today.
Yeah. So the way I talk about it is we're instead of teaching our kids how to be consumers, we're teaching them how to be producers, right? So we're getting them take their phone and turn it into a microphone or camera and have them get interested enough in content that they produce content and that they teach. And the fact that we put the high stakes assessment, we say we put the stake back in high stakes because students have to put something at stake. They have to use their attention, which is their value proposition, and spend that attention to learn something before they can even start a credit on our platform, right? So they stake that credit, and that's they're pulling, and then they're showing that they're ready to do the hard work to produce content, which is hard to do, right? To get from zero to producing a piece, there's a lot to navigate, and so we screen kids out at that front end, because a lot of kids aren't ready for that and aren't ready to pull,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's the key innovation, is that the only kids, we're not wasting their time and telling them at the end of learning you didn't get the credit. We're forcing the teacher and the student to have a conversation at the beginning of whether they're willing to pull and deal with the frustration tolerance, the working with peers, all the different pieces that we think are important for a young person to learn to ship product. And all we do is evaluate the quality of their work. We're not evaluating human beings. So we don't give a kid an F. We give a piece of work an F, and then the kid can say, okay, I need to rework that and try again. But we're not evaluating human beings. We're just evaluating work products. And if you look at Wikipedia's definition of authentic learning, it nails exactly what our platform is delivering. Wikipedia does a great job. So we're just implementing authentic learning, which is a very ancient practice. It existed way before the industrial area had these standardized ways of learning, where we treat kids like products through moving through an assembly line.
Yeah, it's really horrendous what it's become, especially because the standards continue to be lower and lower. And it's so funny, the only time in life that we are put together in a room with people of so many different, diverse backgrounds and forced to do the same thing is in school. And it's insanity. It doesn't make any sense. And it looks to me like this is a very self-selecting program, right? You're going to have students that are motivated regardless of their socioeconomic status. The ones who are motivated are the ones who are going to participate. You're starting with 11th and 12th grade. I'm assuming that will expand, but it makes sense because those 11th and 12th graders that are motivated are thinking about the future of their education and what happens next. So this actually can provide an opportunity for them to begin saving up for college.
Right. There's a few pieces to why we do the last 2 years of their K through 12 journey. It might be when they're 25, frankly, because I work with kids that get kicked out of other schools. So most of my kids are overage and undercredited. So it's not by age. But the reason is a lot of efforts in education start with pre-K, right? And it takes them 14 years to find out that they made no difference. So for us, every 2 years, we're going to have data to see if we're making a difference. And if we can do this and show that we have high quality data based on performance-based assessment and start shifting weight so that somebody goes to an AP class and the teacher says, hey guys, you can either take a 4-hour exam at the end of this course, or every month during the course, upload a 10-minute video. Which one do you want? As we start shifting weight off of the standardized model off the consumer model into the producer model, all the grades below that will have to start changing to get ready for that. That'll become the gold standard. So we're actually never going to expand past these last 2 years. It's also the 2 years that kids make the best quality product because they're the most mature and oldest and have the skills, right? They're ready for this. The other grades will have to prepare them for this, however they end up doing that. So we're changing the incentive structure for what happens at the end of your journey. And by that, we're hoping to impact everything all the way to pre-K on up.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think that there's a lot of potential here. Do you think that educators in general will embrace this, or do you think that there's some that are just married to the system that they are using?
So I've been doing this work for 20 years using podcasts and videos as a physics teacher and a robotics coach, and I had huge results with that. And then as a high school principal since 2010, and again, turned around a school and the data. Nobody could understand how we were producing the data. And when I would tell them about what we're doing, they wouldn't really understand it, including parents, until they'd come into the school and experience it. And then everybody felt the magic, because when kids are walking up to you with a microphone, the minute you walk in, bombarding you, asking you questions, diving deep, right, really doing that critical thinking, you can't help but know what goes on. So everybody gets it. And the media that students do right now in social media, a lot of parents don't get what's happening on Twitter, but they do get when it's academic in nature and the academic skills of research. And, so parents actually are kind of enjoy seeing this, and they get moved by seeing their young person be academic. So they're actually on board much faster than people think. Educators, there's a large group of educators who are already opting out of standardized testing, either through the opt-out movement or through consortium schools or through portfolio-based schools and private schools. And so what we're doing is just making that model available to any teacher at any school, rather than just if you're at one of these schools that has managed to negotiate with the state not to do the Regents exam if we're in New York State. So there's maybe 30% of communities that are already doing this, and then we hope to expand, and we hope to get to the point that any teacher through their union contract has the right to not teach to test ever, that they can always say, no, I do not have to teach to test. There's now another option. There's something from the opt-out movement to opt into, which has never existed in high school. The opt-out movement only exists in elementary and middle school.
Mhm. I kind of opted out of high school by not going to class and
Right,
getting
right,
absence
and that's what kids.
from
Well,
stuff.
that's what kids are doing now, because they know that the crap that they're learning in school isn't relevant to them, and so we spend more and more money, and we can't even improve the rigged standardized test scores. We can't even get those up anymore, right? Because the kids know that it's bullshit. And that's why my school always did so much better than everybody else, because the kids felt like this is relevant to me. The types of skills we taught mindfulness so that they could focus their attention in an economy that is everybody's clamoring to get human attention. The kids started to get, wow, my attention is valuable, and I need to learn how to harness it, and that means learning how to produce it, and work ethic. And they started to get, wow, this is really relevant no matter what I do in life, and they engaged.
One of the things in your bio really jumped out at me. You just said it. What does a robotics coach do? I have to know.
Yeah, so the first robotics competition, we build these 120-pound, 5-foot tall robots, and they compete. It's like a sports arena. It's like a sporting event. But instead of the kids being on the baseball team, they're on the robotics team. And we have 6 weeks to build the robot. So we would live at the lab. I would literally sleep in school. I wasn't married at the time, for 6 weeks to ship the product. And that's how we would just brute force. That's how we beat all the private schools. We were a low income, high power, like a really tough public school, and we took first place in New York City, and even New York State with some of these upstate schools, just by brute force, because we would spend more time than everybody else developing it.
I had to go look up. I don't know if you've been involved in this one at all. Firstinspires.org, first
Yep.
robotics competition. But this is the type of thing that these kids who are so much smarter than I ever aspired to be in school. Do you speak to them in binary?
Exactly. We learn how to count in binary in our fingers. Actually, that's one of the
Oh,
things in my class that I teach, in my technology class that I taught.
oh, wait, Zach, do you know how to count binary on your fingers?
No, I learned enough binary to solve a sort of like kinetic puzzle that involved counting through 8 digits of binary, but didn't learn much about it beyond that.
Give us a really abbreviated quick lesson. Show me how you
Here we
do
go.
that.
So it's one. You're in my backwards on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. Right.
Wow,
It's yeah.
it's a sign language all its own.
It
Uh,
is.
what do you think, Zach? Pretty cool, huh? You wish you had this.
Uh, so the most valuable piece of this to me is not just what it provides to educators, but how it broadens the pool of who can become an educator in the most practical and impactful sense. The example that he was sharing with us before was, we'll say your uncle is teaching you math. Your uncle might not know how to teach, but if he's able to communicate a skill to you, then that's all that's required to allow a kid who's about to graduate to significantly more invest in their personal future.
Yeah,
That's a big.
You're the first. I've been on a lot of podcasts. You're the first one to highlight that, and that is my favorite part of this. Is that we're going to start having like this heat map of where the real educators showing up, right? Rather than the teachers that claim to be educators and are really hurting our kids and telling them they're never going to make it. I
Mm.
totally agree with you. That's a critical part of this.
Well, and I'm thinking of it as a homeschooling parent, how nice it would have been to, earn cryptocurrency getting paid. Like, you don't get paid as a homeschooling parent to teach. You don't get paid as a parent and you don't get paid as a teacher. But yet you're still paying taxes to the
Right.
public school system. So if we're going to take on responsibility for teaching our kids, why shouldn't we earn for that labor beyond the joy and delight of a job well done?
And then having the
And
benefit of the other parents grading your students' work rather than you grading your own students' work. You know that there are going to be these pseudonymous other graders grading the work on the platform, and you're going to be grading other students' work and getting paid $150 an hour to do it. Right? It's a nice sharing of that high stakes piece of evaluating what's worth the credit.
and the timing of this is also just as important, is because that intuition that the school system is full of shit is becoming widespread, not just among the students but also among the parents, because we're
Yeah.
seeing an unprecedented rise in the number of households that are engaged in homeschooling. So this could just
Yeah.
be a fantastic direct tool for everybody who's now participating in that more open system.
Yeah, the year before COVID, I lived in Japan and wrote the book, and it came out right at the beginning of COVID. And I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing this stuff for 20 years, and nobody understood. And now suddenly I say 3 letters, NFT, and people think for a second, they're like, I'd say NFT transcript, and people that know NFTs get it immediately. That's it. I say, that's a little code, and it's amazing for me after so long of people giving me these funny, crazy looks of what the hell are you doing until they visit the school. Now they don't have to visit. I just say that, and they totally get it.
Let me ask you this, and I have a little social question. As you've been an educator for so long, and I'm sure you've worked with all ages, it's been said that what we've done with our children in schools by masking them up, separating them, has hurt them developmentally. Do you believe that that's true? And if so, what long-term repercussions do you think we're going to see as these children become adults?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I only know high school. I don't work, but I'm a foster parent. And so I have babies in my care, and certainly 0 to 3 in particular, that little baby that doesn't know what the hell's going on and can't understand explanation, looking at a face and not seeing the features that they're biologically and, meant to see. That's going to have deep implications in the same way that any trauma during 0 to 3, shows up in life. And I mean, I'm not smart enough to predict what that's going to look like, but I know that it's going to have some impact of attachment to people, and maybe attachment to masks. Maybe they're going to grow up and all wear masks as a fashion statement because that's going to give them some kind of comfort. I'm not sure.
Well, I think that there definitely will be, this notion of the masked, COVID generation, that's going to be a very real thing. Zach, you're laughing. Why?
Widespread developmental trauma doesn't seem like a great note to end an episode on. We got to throw one more question out there that's not related to this.
That was a challenge to me. You don't have the question.
I have one. I want to know what the aha moment was for you when this idea really clicked into place.
Yeah, when I realized that so I was a software engineer in the 90s at Netscape working for digital. And so I had connections to that world, and I knew about Bitcoin. I did not think Bitcoin was going to make it. I didn't think, Linux would expand, right? So I'm seeing open source and I'm seeing decentralization happen. So when Bitcoin, by 2017, when Bitcoin clicked, and then I said, wait, a transcript is a ledger. That was the moment.
Very good awakening. All right, the website, hs.credit. And when will the application be downloadable for Android and iOS?
So invite only should be by this September school opening. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Nadav, thanks for coming on. Great to see your vision coming to fruition, right? Yep. You first came the book and the idea and the genesis of it. Now you're actually, putting legs to it, and look forward to revisiting after it's been rolled out for a little bit, right, and seeing.
Last time we talked, I was still working at a school. I actually since resigned and do this full time now. So I appreciate your support and the opportunity to have these conversations.
Absolutely. Thanks, friend. Appreciate you. All right. Well, and thanks to all of you who hopefully learned something today. We award you with Nifty.Show credit for what you've learned. There won't be a test, though. We just rained fake coins on you now.
It's not redeemable for anything. Don't go trying to take that to an exchange.
It's redeemable for good, warm, fuzzy feelings.
Good, warm, fuzzy feelings. We can't reduce emotions to such transactional fundamentals like that. They ebb and they flow, and they're all over the place.
I can do what I want. Don't tell me what I can do. I won't tell you guys what to do, but we would really appreciate it if you would go and review the show. We love 5 stars, and give us some credit where credit might be due, and tell a friend about the Nifty Show. Maybe not the world's first NFT podcast, but definitely the best, according to our moms. And until next time,
keep it nifty.
Looking into the future, what do we see? It's lined with digital collectibles, we call them NFTs. Games, trading cards, digital art, and those crypto kitties. Joel and Zach are the hosts, you'll know. Joel and Zach say this will blow. They're locked and loaded, so ready, set, go! It's the Nifty, really kind of spiffy. The Nifty Show.